Good evening, everybody, and thank you for your patience. This is functioning in the time of Zoom. I want to thank all the candidates and audience attendees for participating in tonight's forum, which is being held in a Zoom format so that everyone can participate in a safe manner. We appreciate your dedication to the Estes Park School District, knowing that the district has a large impact on our greater community. We look forward to an informative evening together. Our mission and vision are shown here. The League is nonpartisan, and we neither support nor oppose candidates. School board candidates run on a nonpartisan basis. I am Robin Converse, Director of Voter Service. Our acting president, Sherry Martin, our Voter Service Committee, and many other members of our league helped to bring this forum to you tonight. I also wish to thank Estes Park News and Estes Park Trail Gazette, the Estes Valley Library, and the Estes Park School District for helping us publicize this forum. This slide and the next slides are being shown primarily so that the audience understands our ground rules and process. These are just a few, as the candidates have been given all the ground rules and participation policies in advance. All participants and attendees will be respectful in words and actions. We will ask questions based on questions submitted by the public and members of the League of Women Voters of Estes Park. All candidates will have an opportunity to answer all questions. We will rotate the order of candidate responses. And we are asking everyone in the audience to add your name. Instructions are on the slide. Also, we recommend that you choose speaker view. Here are our Zoom features. If you like, you may cover up your picture in the window. Tap on the picture of the video camera on the lower left corner of the toolbar. There is no chat room for tonight's forum. Okay, the order for the opening statements has been determined by a random drawing, and the order will be reversed for closing statements. Candidates will alternate as to who goes first in answering questions. Candidates, you may ask me to repeat a question. We will signal the candidates toward the end of their allotted 1-minute time, allowing them to complete their sentence. If necessary, I may interrupt if someone goes on for too long. All of our questions this evening are based on questions and concerns submitted by the public. We received over 700 questions, which demonstrates just how engaged our community is. We are only asking questions that apply to the role of the school board. It is now time for the candidates to give their 2-minute opening statement, beginning with Danielle Wolf.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Wolf, and I am running for a second term on the Estes Park School District Board of Education. I'm a former middle school science teacher and have 2 young children in the elementary school. My husband, David, is the fire chief here in Estes Park. I believe that there are 3 key areas that will help us increase student learning here in Estes Park. Number 1, investing in our staff. Number 2, continually improving instruction. And number 3, building stronger partnerships with the community. In my time on the board, I have supported multiple initiatives to attract and retain top quality educators, including raises for all of our teachers. I have also sought to ensure that all of our staff have access to high quality professional development, and we now have instructional coaches in all of our schools to help support our hardworking teachers. This focus on professional development and attracting top talent has raised the quality of instruction, as does making sure teachers are supported with rigorous modern curricula that are based on what we know about how students learn best. As a board member, I have started a monthly check-in to ensure that the board is taking action on our goals and commitments, and this accountability has made the board more productive in its support of student learning. Re-elect me so I can keep pushing us to a higher level. I have also supported the adoption of nationally recognized math and literacy curricula, which have already had positive impacts on student learning right here in Estes Park. Student math and literacy skills in the elementary school are improving, and students are now saying that they love math. The middle school just adopted a top math curriculum, which emphasizes critical thinking and complex real-life problems. In my tenure, the high school built and opened a new greenhouse and career and technical education building where students can build technical hands-on skills and explore a range of career pathways. Finally, I recognize that our community is full of talented, accomplished, and generous people who have a lot to offer our younger generations. As pandemic conditions improve, I believe we should work harder to bring more of our local experts from this amazing Estes Park community into our schools to share their knowledge and experience, be this through classroom visits, mentoring relationships, tutoring, or extracurricular clubs. It has been an honor to serve on the board over the past 4 years, and I'm immensely proud of the hard work our district is doing to improve outcomes for our students. I know that we haven't yet met our goals.
For that. It's time for Courtney Cabrera to speak. Courtney? Yeah, Courtney, you need to unmute yourself. I'm sorry.
There we go. Sorry, I had some pop-up messages. Let me get rid of these things here. Okay, so sorry about that.
All right, go right ahead.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this incredible forum for our community. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to be here tonight with 4 other candidates who have a collective desire to serve our community and our school district. When I think about my reason for running for this school board, I think of my 2 little boys and all their classmates who will go through our school district and who deserve the absolute best educational experience. All of our students need access to quality instruction, to feel welcomed, respected, and valued in our buildings, and have opportunities to succeed based on high expectations we set out. I'm running for all the educators who will support our students. It is their day-to-day work that has the greatest impact on the success of my boys and their classmates. All our educators deserve authentic professional learning opportunities to support their craft, opportunities to meet student needs in innovative ways, and competitive salaries to prove their value and worth. I'm running because our community must see their needs and desires and challenges being met with collaborative solutions. Community partnerships are the foundation of a strong, high-performing school district. These partnerships provide opportunities for our community to thrive as a result of our school district. When I think about my chosen profession in education and all the experiences within that profession, I believe I'm uniquely qualified to serve on our school board. As a lifelong educator, I have been fortunate enough to serve students in classrooms, as an instructional leader in a building, and at 2 state departments of education. I believe these varying levels of educational experience have provided me an understanding of the forest and the trees in education. Having that classroom, building, and statewide context allows me to fully understand the impact every decision made by a school board can have on all stakeholders in our system. I truly believe it takes a village to raise a child, and I'm truly and eternally grateful to have the Estes Valley as a part of my village. The opportunity to serve this community, its parents, educators, and most importantly, its students is a tremendous honor, privilege, and responsibility. Thank you.
Courtney, thanks. Is John Davis with us? Okay, well, since we appear not to have John Davis this evening, it's Stacy Farree's turn to give her opening remarks.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Stacy Farree. I've lived in Estes Park for the past 17 years. I'm married to my husband, Frank. We have 2 sons, John, who graduated Estes Park High School in 2020, and Ben, who's currently a senior. I've actively volunteered in our school district for the past 15 years because I believe education matters. I understand the learning challenges some students face, as I've worked with the district guiding my own son with dyslexia from preschool to graduation. I see the importance of parents asking questions, the importance of working with our educators to frame an innovative education for all. I have had the opportunity to tutor many students over the years. I know the importance of a good education. My passion shows in the time that I spend with our students, either tutoring or coaching them. Thank you.
Stacy, thanks. It's Peggy Maherman's turn for her opening remarks.
Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important forum this evening. I am Peggy Maherman. I have lived in the Estes Park School District for 20 years. I'm running for school board because I'm an advocate for public education and truly believe we are educating the next generation of leaders and global citizens. And we have a responsibility to our community that each and every one of our students is able to reach and even exceed their goals. I'm retired from HP after a 30-year career in international business, which included 3 years each in Spain and Scotland. I am the volunteer director of the Allens Park Food Bank and a volunteer with Estes Park Restorative Justice. I have 3 adult children that went through the Estes Park schools and are now thriving in their various careers and studies, and I am forever grateful to the dedicated teachers that gave them such a great start. I look forward to discussing all the key issues with you this evening. Some of the top issues for me include ensuring the student is the forefront of every decision that we make, keeping our students safe and healthy, and that includes both physical and mental health, expanding our career and technical education programs so students can graduate with work-ready skills, and a focus on teacher retention, which includes encouraging teachers to use the latest in educational theory in the classroom. And speaking of teachers, I'm proud to say that I am one of 3 candidates that has been endorsed by the Estes Park Education Association. I believe in ensuring our students have the education and skills they need to succeed in our globally connected, technology-driven economy. This includes competencies such as critical thinking, problem solving, perseverance, and collaboration. If I'm honored to be elected, this community can count on me to ensure our schools are at the top of the list of exceptional schools. Thank you.
Peggy, thanks. It's Ava Kendall will be our last candidate to give her opening remarks. Ava, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Okay, are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Okay, good evening. I'm Ava Kendall and I'm running for the Estes Park School Board of Education. I recently retired after 25 years as a public school educator. Upon retirement, I was already looking for a way to invest in our community. I did not retire just to retire. My heart for education, my personal experiences, and my professional experiences led me to the decision and the desire to serve our children, our teachers, and our community in this capacity. As an educator, I had several opportunities to exercise my leadership and organizational skills. I was chairperson of the MTSS multi-tiered system of support committee. We worked together to provide targeted support for struggling students. I was chairperson of the school improvement team, known as the District Advisory and Accountability Committee. We made budget decisions, developed successful school improvement plans, made decisions for the school with input from teachers, parents, and administrators. I was chairperson of the school accreditation process by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools for our local school, and traveled with the accreditation team to evaluate other schools. Teachers work hard and they need our support, and they need the support of our administration and community in order to do their chosen profession well. I want to listen to teachers and find solutions to the short-term and long-term challenges that they face as they educate our students. I want to invest in our schools to help them be their best. It is essential that our community is strengthened from the inside out, and I am ready to roll up my sleeves and be part of that process.
Ava, thank you. And we're going to turn to our questions now.
Okay. The first question is, what motivated you to run for or stay on the school board, and how are you qualified? John will invite the first candidate to answer. Go ahead, John.
Okay, well, we will be rotating through the candidates, giving each person in turn a chance to speak first. And just as a reminder that responses to the questions will be limited to 1 minute. And our first speaker for this question is Courtney Cabrera.
Thank you all so much. So as I mentioned in my opening statement, I have 2 little boys who are 3 and 6 and who will be attending our Estes Park Community Schools for the duration of their career in education. So as a parent, I certainly want to make sure that our schools and our school board is functioning as
Courtney, you've just gone on mute.
Did you get any of it?
Now you're back.
Did any information come through?
Yes, for some reason it just went on mute.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure where it muted or unmuted, so I'll start where I'm hoping it's helpful.
And I'm going to restart your time from where we stopped it.
Great, thank you. So as I mentioned, I have 2 little boys who will go through our school district K-12. And so as a parent of 2 little boys, it's essential for me to make sure that our schools are performing and meeting the needs of all of our students. I also get to see all of the classmates that my boys get to interact with. And so making sure that their needs are met is essential for me. As an educator, I've taught high school social studies. I've worked in a building as an instructional coach, and I've worked at 2 state departments of education, which I think really provide me a wide breadth of understanding related to education. And so it's an opportunity for me to serve as a new member of the community. My family's only been here for about 2 years, and it's an opportunity for me to give back to this amazing community that I know will give so much to my kiddos in their educational experience.
Courtney, thank you. And we'll go to, and John Davis is not here yet? No. Okay, so we are going to Stacy Faree.
My motivation for being on the school board is to make a difference, to elevate our quality of education. Our students are competing in a global world. To prepare our students for these challenges requires creating a culture where there is collaborative thinking and discussion between the professional teaching staff, our district leadership, our students, parents, and guardians, and our community. We need to work together for our kids in order for them to be successful adults. I think I have a little different of a background. I have an education in information technology and in finance. I've worked for State Farm for 20 years. During my tenure at State Farm, I held a variety of positions across the United States. I also have experience in small business ownership and experience in working in that private sector. Lastly, volunteering at the school has been my passion for the past 15 years. As I stated earlier, my sons, one recently graduated, I have a senior now. I can bring that experience of the past time that my boys have been in school to being a board member. I have been excited to tutor the students, to mentor students, participate in the accountability committee, and coaching our great youth of this community. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. And let's turn to Peggy Maherman.
Thanks, John. I guess you could say I'm kind of a run to the fire kind of person. In the past, I've always thought maybe I would like to run for the school board. Maybe I have some skills, maybe I could add some value. But I would say schools all around the country now, and especially including here in Estes Park, are a bit of a crossroads now. And the stakes are very high in terms of the future of public education. And is this a future that is forward-looking and develops kids to be the strongest that they can be? Some of the things that I'm very motivated about, for example, is the current global outcomes that the school has put together, the current board has worked on, along with the staff, administration, and community. And to me, that's a very forward-looking way of educating our students. And that's a huge motivation to me that we keep that going. I say that for running the school board, the mindset starts at the top of the school board. So again, it's that motivation I have for looking towards the forward progress that we can do, because our students are worth it. In terms of qualifications,
Peggy, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Just to note, we did get word from John Davis that he has had a family emergency and is on the road and not able to join us on the Zoom call. So just to let you know about that. So it's Ava Kendall's turn to respond to the first question. Ava, I'm sorry, you need to unmute yourself.
I apologize. Are we good?
We're good.
My motivation for running for the school board has to do with my heart for education, for my heart as a teacher, for supporting teachers. Having been a teacher for 25 years, having experienced teaching with so many different types of children, such diverseness within my classroom, children with special needs, helping them to become their best. I want to transfer that into an opportunity to be able to support our school, our teachers, our administrators, to be able to listen to them and to be able to make a difference in moving forward with helping our children be prepared for the rigor of post-high school. Whatever their jobs, whatever they choose to do, whether it's go into the workforce, the military, university settings, I want them to be prepared and be their best.
Ava, thank you. And the last candidate to respond to this question is Danielle Wolf.
Thank you. Like Courtney, I have 2 young children in the school, so personally there's a lot at stake for me. When I first ran 4 years ago, people asked me the same question, why are you running? And my answer then is the same now. I want this to be a great place to go to school and a great place to be a teacher. As I mentioned, my husband works for the fire district, and we are a family that values service. I had lived in the district for less than a year, or just over a year, when I first ran. I am committed to making this school the best it possibly can be. One of my unique qualifications is I come from a science background. I have a master's degree in geophysics, and that makes me incredibly qualified to look at the data, to pull out trends and outliers, and to really do the hard work and the research to find good solutions. Again, I was a teacher. I know what that's like, and I really am here to support the teachers, to support the kids, and help us continue the work that we've been doing these past 4 years.
Thanks, Danielle. We're ready to move on to the second question.
Okay, the second question is, what do you consider to be 2 top challenges facing the district, and what contribution can you make to address them?
And this goes to Stacy Faree.
So the 2 top challenges I see in our school district is, unfortunately, in 2019, when our elementary school was placed in a priority improvement status by the Colorado Department of Education, I found that to be considerably disturbing, realizing the quality of teachers we have, the great community we have, and our students. So I would say that was one of the challenges. Secondly, preparing our students for the post-high school rigor beyond Estes Park. Our kids tend to be isolated up here in the mountains. And I believe that we need to work hard to provide them a quality education and make sure they are prepared to be able to meet the challenges and meet their goals in life. As far as items to address that, I think it becomes talking to the people in the trenches, and not only talking with them, but hearing and making adjustments based off their input. That would be our teachers. We need to make sure we have great working relationships with our teachers, listening to what they're saying, make sure that they can have a student-focused classroom, that they are able to focus on teaching our children.
Stacy, thank you. And we'll turn to Peggy Maherman.
Thanks. Yeah, I think the district has several challenges. I think school districts in any organization are always growing and improving. And I think it's important to look at those challenges. I think later on this evening, we might speak a little bit more detail of like teacher retention and test scores as Stacy mentioned. So I would say that our greatest challenge can also be our greatest asset, and that is just the small size of our school. I think we have limited resources because of that, and we were always having to make trade-offs and priorities. One of the things I bring from my business background that I would add to that is a very pragmatic way of making decisions and making priorities and reviewing the financials of the district. But that small district challenges is also a great asset to us because we care about all kids, and every kid is going to get the individual attention that they need. I would also suggest communication is an ongoing issue, remembering that communication is always about listening as well as getting your message out there. One of the things I would hope to bring as a board member, if I'm honored to be elected, is to be that outward voice to the community and share that so we can continue to improve our communication at all times. Thanks.
Thanks, Peggy. Let's turn to Ava Kendall.
So am I unmuted?
You're good.
Okay. So I am concerned about the priority improvement status of our elementary school. We need to strengthen our test scores. In order to do that, we need to make sure that our teachers have all the support that they need. We need to look at our ELD students, our English language developers, and what type of support they need. We also need to identify our special needs children early in their schooling. The school improvement plan should reflect specific areas of growth and achievement, and teachers should be a major contributor to that plan. It's essential to listen to the teachers and administrators in making decisions to improve our schools. In addition, communication with others is important. There needs to be transparency and honesty with communication between all stakeholders. It's imperative to listen to all of the teachers, to the school administrators, to parents, to our community members. And as a school board member, I welcome conversations with all those involved with our school and community.
Ava, thank you. Danielle Wolf, it is your turn.
Thank you. I agree that improving instruction is one of the biggest challenges that's facing our district. I've mentioned already a couple things that we are already doing to address that. We have adopted nationally recognized curricula in both literacy and math. We have hired instructional coaches in all three of the buildings, and we've offered targeted professional development to our teachers to really meet their needs. Some additional staffing that we've hired has included English language development specialist, reading interventionist. We've expanded our student services for children with special needs. So I really feel like we are doing the right work there. And if I was elected again, I would continue to focus on those things and support those initiatives. I also agree that community engagement and communication is another challenge. In my time on the board, I've started the quarterly newsletters that come out from the board. I'm the author or co-author on many of those. And we're actively working to seek new ways to engage with the community to get their input, including surveys, conversations, and really meeting people where they are, whether that's on social media or just in the supermarket.
Danielle, thank you. And the last candidate to address this question will be Courtney Cabrera.
Thank you so much. Am I unmuted this time?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Hopefully it stays that way. So when I think about the two main challenges facing our district, I think they play together, but are also essential to think about separately. The first one is ensuring that we have quality evidence-based curricula in place for all of our students, K-12. And so that includes literacy, math, but also our science standards, our social studies standards, and also in our arts courses. When I think about those evidence-based curriculum, that really helps to support our educators in knowing what is best research and what is supporting students currently. And so impairment with that curriculum and quality instruction, professional learning is also essential to make sure that our educators receive the supports that they need to support students. So I think that's the first main priority that I would focus on, is ensuring that that curriculum is in place. As Danielle mentioned, I think we have made the right steps. We have 2 incredible evidence-based curricula for literacy and math at our elementary. We've just adopted a new math curriculum at the middle school, and our high school will be adopting a new math curriculum this year, all really focusing on teacher needs and also student needs. The second thing then that I would focus on as a board member that I think is a potential challenge, but also an opportunity, is to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our diverse students. We have an incredible population of students that have varying needs and have varying strengths. And so how do we pair that quality curriculum that's in place and identifying and meeting students where they are and helping them to grow based on what makes the most sense for them and the needs that they identify as learners. Thank you.
Courtney, thanks. Time to move on to the next question. Robin?
Yes. All right. The next question is, what will you do to prepare yourself for making the critical decisions necessary to meet the district's needs?
Okay, and our first speaker on this question is Peggy Maherman.
Thanks for the question, and that's a very in-depth way of thinking about what it takes to be a good board member. The first issue is being willing to listen and being open to understanding all the different concerns and all the different stakeholders, right? You've got administration, you've got teachers, community, students, fellow board members. One of the things I would bring to the table is the ability to bring people together and work collectively so we can all meet the goals. And speaking of goals, I think that's very important that high-level expectations are set and high-level goals are established for students, for teachers, for staff, for our superintendent. Because once you have that, then you have a framework of how to analyze and determine if we are heading in the right direction. Do we have the right team members to get us there? So I will bring that to the board and mentally, for the question, really have a strong thought on that. I do bring a background of business, which is a little bit different way maybe of looking at things. I think, okay, thank you.
All right, and we're turning to Ava Kendall.
Would you repeat the question, please?
What will you do to prepare yourself for making the critical decisions necessary to meet the district's needs?
As a board member, I feel like I bring a lot to the table already because of my background. In preparation for being a board member, it's imperative that we are connected. We're listening to our teachers, that we're listening to our students, to our administrators, to our community. I have experienced as a teacher where board members are disconnected from what's going on in the school. They're not aware. And I may have seen board members twice in our school in 25 years. That's not the type of board member I want to be. I don't want to encroach because teachers are professionals. They know what they're doing. Principals are professionals. They know what they're doing. But I certainly want to be in the school. I want to be available, and I want to listen to the concerns of all of those people so that I can help find solutions for their concerns to support them.
Thank you, Ava. Let's turn to Danielle Wolf.
Thank you. So in order to prepare myself, I really am going to continue the work that I've been doing. I've spent the past 4 years being involved in the schools. I have volunteered in my son's classrooms. I've spent hours talking with teachers, attending accountability meetings, and responding to emails from teachers, from parents, from community members. I really have been doing all that I can to get a good pulse on what the teachers need and what the families need, what the students need. Additionally, again, I'm going to lean into my science background here, and I'm going to dive deep into the data. The priority improvement rating for the elementary school that has been mentioned previously is from data that is now 3 years old. So it is no longer an accurate representation of what's happening in our schools. We do have measures that we have, or assessments that have taken place locally in our schools that give us a much more up-to-date picture. And as a board member, I'm going to continue, like I said, to lean into that data to figure out the trends and to really determine the best steps moving forward with the input of our teachers and our administrators.
Thanks, Danielle. Courtney Cabrera.
Thank you. So much like the previous candidates, I think it's really important to have and build a base of understanding about what it means to be a school board member. I think as I joined the school board about 7 months ago, there was a learning curve there to just kind of know the role and understand the role of the school board, what the school board does and doesn't sort of do, and how that certainly impacts the day-to-day work of the school district. So really understanding the role of the school board, how it supports not only the educators, but the community, I think is essential in serving as a school board member. In addition to that, I think it's also really important to have a good understanding of what's happening nationally within our state, but certainly, as many have mentioned, what's happening within our community. And so that, you know, requires different understanding at different levels, how something that's happening in the national background might impact what's happening here in the Estes Valley, and how that certainly impacts our students or our families or our community members. As many have mentioned as well, I think it's essential to make sure that we're listening not only to the needs of our community, but to our students, and elevating our student voice and making sure that the educational experience that they're having meets their needs, and also they feel that they're prepared for whatever that next step is. I see a lot of boards and
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're turning to Stacy Faree.
As a board member, to prepare myself, I would do much of what I'm doing today, communicating and talking to the community members. I would first and foremost acknowledge the issues the board and the district have. These past few weeks, I've spent much of my time talking with community members, school district employees, another board member, and students, listening and learning to their issues and their concerns. Also, trying to gain an understanding from the community at large of what we are doing great as a district. Thank you.
Stacy, thanks. Robin, we're ready for the next question.
All righty. The district has implemented grading for equity. What are your thoughts about this approach and your reasons for your opinion?
Ava Kendall.
Am I on?
Sorry, Ava Kendall, you're up first.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. This is a topic that I want to study further. I need the thoughts and the ideas of our teachers, our school administrators, parents, and community members, as well as data that's showing the potential impact on our schools that should be discussed before any decision is made. I welcome discussion from all interested stakeholders. I am concerned about preparing our students for post-high school and their chosen path. In recent days, I've contacted several major university academic affair offices. I've spoken to Harvard, Yale, and Duke, and talked to their academic professor or academic offices, asking what their professors are currently doing as far as grading, and they're using a 7 to 10 point scale. So I'm concerned about the transition. I think that further talks need to happen to make sure that our students are prepared for what they are going to do after high school.
Thanks, Ava. Danielle Wolf.
Yeah, I think as a current board member, I'm probably most familiar with this system. This is actually work that has been going on for the past 18 months to 2 years with an ongoing collaboration with high school teachers, students, and administrators. The current grading updates are really not a new system. They're simply moving away from grading practices that didn't give us accurate information about what students know and were able to do. The new changes are also designed to give students support, to meet them where they are, to understand that we all learn in different ways and on different schedules. We need to give kids multiple opportunities to master the skills that they will need after graduation, and the updates to the grading system really provide that. We are going to prepare all of our students for success and no longer say that a D grade is acceptable and we're moving on because that's what the calendar says that we need to do. As I mentioned, this change has been collaborative and teachers have been providing feedback the whole way. And it's still going to let kids distinguish themselves and give them ways to shine.
Thanks, Danielle. Courtney Cabrera, will you take this?
Thank you. I think as Danielle mentioned, there's a lot that's a part of this policy and thinking about grading for equity. And so certainly not enough to talk about in 1 minute. But when I think about grading for equity, I think it's really about honoring that we want consistent grading practices across our classrooms. So as a teacher, I taught in a couple of different school districts. The grading policies and practices differed from school to school, but even when I was in those schools, classroom to classroom. So we want to make sure that we have, as a board, consistent grading policies within our buildings to support our learners. I think the other thing to think about when it comes to grading for equity is that there's not just one path to success in identifying what mastery looks like, that really our students have so many different opportunities to learn and grow. And so how can we factor that in when they demonstrate their mastery? I always go back to, if you have more than one kiddo, you know what works with one does not always work with the other. And when we think about differentiation for our students and their learning, that's really what we're trying to do here in honoring that there's different paths to success and mastery. I think we also want to make sure that our grades are bias resistant and that our grades aren't dependent upon what resources students have, but that they truly reflect our students' learning and success. Thanks.
Thanks, Courtney. Stacy Faree, it's your turn.
So having a child in the high school as a senior, I've been attending multiple meetings. One concern I have is I keep hearing how the school district has been working on grading for equity for 18 months. Parents weren't aware of that until recent months. In particular, there was a discussion in April in the board meeting and a couple of Zoom meetings held just prior to that time. We have received a handout, and so the top of the handout is what we believe as a district. I can support most of those comments, such as there is no success without failure. We learn by making mistakes and then trying again. Fully support that. My concern came in when students came home, or you have them at your house and they're talking on the back porch. And what do they say? They talk about, we don't have to do homework anymore. We can work less and still earn an A. We can just take the test and study for those topics and keep retaking the test. So I think there's a big disconnect due to a lack of communication and a lack of parents being involved in that past 18 months.
Stacey, we need to move on. Okay, Peggy, it's your turn.
Thanks. I guess I would start by saying change is hard, and I fancy myself an agent of change. But when I first heard about the grading for equity, I was like, wait, what? What is this about? But I've taken the time to learn myself, to educate myself. I've talked with our educators. I've read the research on this, and I am very open to this change. It is a change. It is a different way than I was graded when I was in school. And in talking to my 89-year-old father, we've kind of been grading things the same age and this forward-looking way. This is the latest in educational theory. So those that study and are experts in educational theory believe that this process has a lot of merit. It's not just something Estes Park kind of pulled out of thin air. When it comes down to me, it's that a student needs to master the subject, truly learning what they can do about the subject. And there are different ways for that student to demonstrate their mastery of that subject, their competency of that subject. And this allows for that spectrum of methods for students to explain that they have understood something, or if not, they have the chance to continue to learn it, because that's what it's about. It's about learning. That's what's most important. I
Thanks,
also
Peggy.
like that it kind of separates the.
We can move on.
Okay, thank you.
Robin, we're ready for the next question.
How might the district better support students of all achievement levels?
All right, then this question goes first to Danielle Wolf.
So as I've mentioned, we have already put measures in place that will help support our English language learners, and the new curricula that we've adopted at the middle school and at the elementary school have built-in supports for students, be those who just need a little bit of extra practice to those who really are struggling and need some significant additional attention. In terms of supporting our students who maybe are on the other end of this and are excelling at school and need more of a challenge, I think the work that we've been doing to expand our offerings, particularly at the high school, with dual enrollment, with cooperative courses, with community colleges down on the Front Range, with additional APs, and with a huge range of electives, really helps support those students as well. So we are, broadening their opportunities, giving them a chance to explore their interests and really demonstrate the remarkable things that they can do through expanding our curriculum and our instructional offerings.
Am I next, John?
I'm sorry, somehow I got put on mute. Yes, it is. It's your turn.
It's contagious. So
Let's start the clock.
So I think when I think about meeting the needs of diverse learners, I think one of the first things that comes to mind is really making sure that our teachers feel like they have the knowledge and skills necessary to support what those diverse needs are. So I know there are certain statutory rules that come for licensure when it comes to understanding the science of reading or meeting and utilizing culturally responsive teaching practices. And I know our buildings have been working really diligently on supporting teachers and understanding those strategies. So as a board member, I want to continue to see those things and continue to see that support for our teachers. I also think it's important to recognize when it comes to diverse learners that our classroom teachers can't do it all in the time that they have with their students. And so really thinking about resources and our personnel and how we support and utilize our personnel to support those diverse learners is essential as well. As a board member, I've watched our culturally and linguistically diverse educators support students. I've watched our instructional coaches support our teachers, and I've watched our cultural liaisons connect with our communities to make sure that student needs are being met as well as parent needs are being met. I think that connection to families is essential to make sure that we understand what students need and how we continue to support them.
Thanks, Courtney. Stacy Faree, you're up.
I can't speak enough. I have fortunately, I have a child that has dyslexia. So this is a topic near and dear to my heart. I have experienced over the years the struggle of a child going through a school system that is finding it difficult to learn, not only in reading, writing, and the math concepts. For me, it's focused on the earlier intervention of our students. Some of our students require individual education plans. Some of our students require English language learner plans. Other students require what is 504 plans. And these are all plans that are put in place to support our children that are struggling to learn. So first and foremost, I think early identification of these students getting the proper plans in place to support these students through their career. These plans also follow students post high school. I think that is a very important issue.
Stacy, thanks. Let's turn to Peggy Maherman.
Thank you. As has been discussed, I think what's really important and what we can do, because we do have a small system, is really looking at individual needs of students, and they're very diverse. I also had a student who was in an individual education plan early on in his education, and the ability to have staff that were so professional and knowledgeable and help him through some very difficult times was very important to me. So the ability, and as a board, we have to make sure that we continue to hire in those positions, hire qualified people that have the skills to identify the needs of students that we have, so they can all be addressed anywhere on their achievement that they need to do for their education. One of the things I'm very keen on and really supportive of is the cultural liaison program at the schools. We've got a cultural liaison director and then somebody in each building. And I think that helps for our English language learners. It helps with families that maybe come from a different culture and have a different paradigm in terms of what the American education system is, maybe versus in their home country. And so looking through and talking to that and really reaching out to the families so they understand the expectations and the support available to them is very, very important. So there are ways to bridge these gaps. It just has to be very methodical and very thought-provoking.
Thanks, Peggy. Let's turn to Ava Kendall. We're on. Oh, Ava, I'm sorry. Are you off mute now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I was wanting the question to be repeated, please.
Robin?
How might the district better support students of all achievement levels?
As an educator, it's very important to make sure that you are differentiating instruction with whatever subject you are teaching. And I've spoken to several teachers, and I know that the curriculum supports differentiation with the low, medium, and high students. They all need to be challenged where they're at. The ELD students need additional support. The families of those students need clear communication and support so that they can know how to help their students. We need to identify children with special needs as early as possible and help them to go through the multi-tiered support system to be able to give them support with whatever they're facing as far as challenges with their academia or behaviors. And then in addition to that, making sure that children with IEPs, I've taught children that were nonverbal autistic Down's children. So I understand the needs of having the staff and the resources in place for our special needs students and for the classroom teachers to be able to help those students as well. The students that are higher.
Thank you. Thank you. Robin, we're ready to move on to the next question.
All right. The next two questions relate to the first two of the district's beliefs quoted from their website. Number one, we believe in educating the whole child. Social, emotional, and physical wellness are as important as academics, the arts, and extracurricular activities. The second, we believe that excellent public education in a safe and positive environment is the foundation of strong citizenship and a healthy society. So the next question is this: what are your thoughts about district health practices to deal with the current pandemic And what resources would you consider using to make decisions going forward?
And Courtney Cabrera, you have the first crack at that question.
Thank you, John. So I think as a board member, when I think about my main priority related to students and student learning, it's to make sure that we have the opportunity to learn in person and with limited disruptions to instruction. I think if we look at what we've learned from the pandemic, it's certainly that our students need the support in person, and that when they're learning via this platform or otherwise, we see issues related to their mental health and their ability to perform and support themselves or others. So I think it's essential that we look at and follow guidance and recommendations from our national, state, and local health partners. I also believe in a layered approach when it comes to COVID protocols. And so that layered approach includes a lot of different things, whether that's vaccinations for those who are eligible, masking, hand washing, maintaining 3 or 6 feet of space, really thinking about quality ventilation, and really taking the learning outside when possible. All of those components of a layered approach really honor that value that we want our students learning in person, not only to support their academic growth, but also to support their mental health.
Courtney, thank you. Let's turn to Stacy Faree.
Mental health is so important, and I see that as a big issue. One reason why I decided to coach this season and continue coaching at the middle school, I am so thankful that we are having a middle school swim season this year, as we did not have one last year. I am seeing how important it is for our kids to have that physical exercise, to have that outlet, to be able to come to the pool every day, get some exercise, be in a safe environment, and the positive outcome of that, and seeing the kids smile when they leave, being able to see their success when they do well, is so beneficial. I had the honor of working with a great coach, a retired teacher and coach, and he used to tell me, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that is so true. And that goes right back to the mental health issue for me. As far as the pandemic goes, I know our school nurse is working so hard to keep our students safe, keep our schools open, and keep our sports program active.
Thank you,
So I
Stacy.
appreciate all of her guidance.
Thanks, Stacy. Peggy Maherman.
Thanks. You know, when I think of the pandemic, the first thing I would say is thank a teacher, right? For our teachers last year at the start of the pandemic that moved so quickly to the online cloud school with no notice and no preparation, this was heroic effort. So my first instinct is thank the teachers. Secondly, to answer the question in terms of where would I look for guidance for health issues, I would say the Academy of Pediatrics. That's an organization that their sole purpose of existing is health of children. So I would think it's very important that we follow things that they are recommending for our children. I would also suggest that we do have an option in our district for a remote learning academy. So if there are families that absolutely feel they don't want to be in school with masks or maybe vaccines, those children are owed a public education. And so we do have the Remote Learning Academy where they can still receive high quality education from home. And then lastly, I just want to say about the mental health, I'm such a believer in this early intervention, early identification of potential mental health issues will create stronger students and stronger schools for all of us going forward.
Thanks, Peggy. Ava Kendall, you're up.
Now I'm good.
There you go.
Yay. Okay. It is important to teach the whole child and to keep them safe. I too am concerned about the mental health of our students, especially during this time. As a school board member, I think that I need to be sure that I know that I need to be sure that we're providing all the necessary resources that are needed to help our students and our teachers during this time. There's no easy solution to combating the pandemic. The safety of our children and our staff is foremost. This is a fluid situation and there's too many unknowns. I think that we need to listen to all the stakeholders and have discussions to review data before making informed decisions. And I think our school at this point is doing a good job. And I've heard some wonderful things about the school nurse and how hard she's working.
Thanks, Ava. Danielle Wolf, you are our last responder to this question.
Thank you. So in terms of responding to, or what guidance I would look to, I think as Peggy mentioned, I would look to the American Association of Pediatricians and also our state, our local, our federal health partners who are putting out recommendations. And from the very beginning, the board has been clear that we will follow the advice of the guidance of those institutions. In terms of caring for the whole child and addressing some of the mental health needs, we hired at the beginning of last year a social worker for the school who in her short time here has already established numerous partnerships with organizations throughout the county and throughout Estes Park. We've successfully applied and received mental health grants from Larimer County, which we have used to put supports in for students, whether that's scholarships for counseling or making sure that they have somebody to talk to. And then finally, you can't learn if your belly isn't full. And we served more than 60,000 meals to students during the pandemic, knowing that so many rely on getting breakfast and lunch at school. And we assisted with internet access for families that needed that as well.
Thanks, Danielle. Robin, we're ready for the next question.
All righty. How would you improve support of students' social and emotional needs, particularly in terms of mental health, sex education, preventing bullying, multicultural understanding, and drug and alcohol use?
Stacy Fareed, this is to you. We are on. No.
Sorry about that. There's a lot to that question. So improving the mental health, I think is so important to, one, keep our schools open and our kids in school. Having that ability for those kids to be together and socialize is so important to the mental health. I think as well, our school nurse plays an active role in these education programs, and relying on her input and the information and the programs that she believes and supports for our students is very important.
Thanks, Stacy. Turn to Peggy Maherman.
Robin, can you please, as Stacy said, there was kind of a lot of components to that question. Could you please read it again?
Sure.
Thank you.
How would you improve support of students' social and emotional needs, particularly in terms of mental health, sex education, preventing bullying, multicultural understanding, and drug and alcohol use?
Okay. That's a lot for a minute, so I'm just going to have to hit on a couple things, although I believe all of those are very important, and everything needs to have a plan and a conscious way that the district will address those in age-appropriate situations. Some of the things that I think are important, for example, I really appreciate that both at the middle school and the high school, we now have what they call a GSA, or a Gender and Sexualities Alliance organization, and that's going to help our LGBTQ kids and their allies, so really support of that. And then I'd like to just mention Restorative Justice. I am a newly trained volunteer for Restorative Justice. There's so much to learn in that, but I believe there's a lot that can be done in terms of restorative conversations with our children, with our students in areas like bullying or something, and looking to that and helping bring in those experts that can help us with that. I'm currently working in the middle school, what they call the Girls Circle for 7th grade middle school girls, and we are exploring the girls' identity. We're exploring and their goals in a very complex think we could spend 2 hours just talking about those different aspects, but I'm really appreciative of the school of going above and beyond just academics and looking towards these, and I would support that as a board member.
Thanks, Peggy. Ava Kendall? Can't hear you, Ava.
Okay, good.
There you are.
Okay. That is a lot to tackle within a minute. I do have concerns about the mental health of our students, the responsibility that our counselors have, that our school psychologists have, and I want to be able to give them all the support that they need. I want to listen to concerns from each of the stakeholders, the teachers, the administrators, to be able to help the students with issues, offering programs for anti-bullying. I think one of the best things for anti-bullying is to model and not be bullying anyone else. So the social and emotional issues, you know, there again, we have good counselors, and the drug and alcohol use. There are good programs that can be brought into the school, and the Colorado curriculum addresses the standards to be able to, you know, discuss those things with the students in an age-appropriate way.
Thanks, Ava. Let's turn to Danielle Wolf.
So I want to really focus on what the board's responsibility is and what their what they can do from a policy position in terms of these issues. I think our main focus is to make sure that our budget, our spending aligns with these issues, and making sure that we are committing the funding to, as I said, hire a social worker, to bring in top quality counselors in each of the schools, and continue our focus on the restorative practices that we've done, and make sure that that funding continues as well. As Peggy mentioned, restorative practices is really about repairing relationships and making sure that we are listening to each other, that we're dealing with those multicultural understanding issues, with those bullying relationships, moving forward in a productive way. And I also think the board can continue to make sure that we have a quality school resource officer. We have been blessed to have Officer Plasmeyer in our schools for the past many years, and he's established really great relationships with kids and utilize the Safe to Tell program so that kids can let him know, let their administrators know if they have a friend that they're worried about their mental health.
Thank you, Danielle. Courtney Cabrera, you'll be the last candidate to speak about this issue.
Great, thank you so much. And I would certainly reiterate much of what Danielle just shared, and really thinking about the role as a board member. And I think really honoring that we have to put our money where our mouth is when it comes to these types of supports. And so as we think about and the value around educating the whole child, if that's something that we value and believe, which we certainly do as a current board member, but as a board member that will hopefully be able to continue to do this work, we have to ensure that our funding and that our human capital aligns with the value of supporting students in those areas, whether that's mental health or understanding drug and alcohol components, really making sure that our students have access to quality professionals who can support them in those things. And so as a board member, that certainly continued funding when I think about our school counselors, our school social workers, as Danielle mentioned, our school resource officer, really honoring what our role is as a board, and making sure that if we say we value these things and we say we want our children to be supported in all of the things related to their social emotional being, we need to make sure that we are putting human capital in place to support that work, along with programmatic things that are available to support our students and their needs.
Courtney, thanks. Robin, we're ready for the next question.
All right, we're going to switch topics here entirely. Well, not entirely. How will you address the need to attract and retain qualified educators for our district? What factors do you see influencing this?
And Peggy Maherman, this goes to you first.
You know, this is an issue that I hear from so many people in our community, as well as our educators. And it's very important for us. You know, we have a lot of early career teachers. They come to Estes Park, kind of living the dream, and then they find some challenges. I would look at it in two aspects. The first is aspects that the school board and the school district can assist with, and that is things like our cost of living, cost of housing, and those types of issues. So that is something that we would need to partner with other community organizations, such as the Housing Authority, maybe the Education Foundation, and things for that. The other aspect is just, you know, morale and job satisfaction for a teacher. And this is where some of the aspects we've discussed tonight are so important. That is, these teachers are coming out of school with the latest in educational theory. Let's foster the environment so they can use that in their classrooms. That's what's going to really make them motivated to stay. Let's have leadership opportunities for our teachers so they can be a leader amongst their peers. The things that we're talking about with, like, in the instructional coaching, professional development, and the board investing in those so we can really continue to develop our teachers and our administrators and keep them so they can continue to live the dream.
Thanks, Peggy. Ava Kendall.
Yes, are we good?
We're good.
Okay. So staff retention and attraction, of course, you know, this is a beautiful place and that's attractive within itself. All school districts do have their challenges. In Estes Park, one of our largest challenges is we need to provide affordable housing opportunities. Aspen is doing a really good job of providing housing for their teachers. Housing should be a priority because Estes Park schools are only going to be as good as the teachers working in them. And we want good teachers, and we want to be sure that they have what they need, and definitely housing is an issue. Connecting with our community, having conversations with how we can work together to make them have the housing that they need. I think that's one of the biggest things with teachers. There are so many challenges with teacher salaries, and housing is not cheap. It's really not. So if they've got school loans to pay back, the budget is tight for them. So I think that, you know, giving them affordable housing with a reasonable rent would help retain good teachers.
Thank you, Ava. Let's turn to Danielle Wolf.
Thank you. So I think, as Peggy kind of mentioned already, attracting top quality has really not been a challenge for us. When I was speaking with the elementary school principals at the end of last school year, they said that this is one of the largest and best qualified applicant pools that they've had in a really long time. People want to come and work here. One of the things that makes them want to come and work here has been our focus on the global outcomes and on really integrating these 21st century skills into our everyday instruction. Housing is a challenge. From the board's perspective, there is a limited amount that we can do, and we really do need to lean into our partnerships with the Housing Alliance here in Estes Park. And childcare is also an issue, and that's something where we can work with EVICS, we can work with some of the other local providers to really help find affordable childcare for our early career teachers. And then I think just making sure that we have a culture of collaboration, of support, and of excellence, where when teachers get here, they want to stay, they know that they're doing good work, and that their work is appreciated and supported by the board and by the community.
Thanks, Danielle. Let's turn to Courtney Cabrera.
Thank you so much. So I think it's always really helpful to recognize that teacher retention is a huge challenge nationally and within Colorado, but I think we do have some really unique challenges here in the Estes Valley related to teacher retention. I think all the candidates have mentioned limited affordable housing, and as a board member currently and moving into the potential of serving as a board member, it's really recognizing that partnership with our housing authority to allow for our educators to have and receive those opportunities to take advantage. The other fun thing that I've seen in other districts that are similar to us is actually leaning into our career and technical education programs and thinking about how they can move into maybe housing construction. And so how can they actually support the building of affordable housing for our educators? And so then we'd be utilizing not only an opportunity to retain our educators, but also the opportunity to use our CTE programs for real life application of those skills. As many have mentioned already, certainly competitive salaries are important. As a current board member, we have continued to increase our teacher salaries, but we also need to make sure that we're monitoring what's happening not only in the front range salaries, but also in our mountain communities. And then finally, I think there's a really great advantage of thinking about a grow your own or build your own, thinking about our high school students who might be interested in serving as a teacher. And certainly a long-term plan would be supporting them in that opportunity, having them go get their training as an educator, and then return back to the Estes Valley to support our students who need them most, really starting and honing those skills here.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Courtney. Stacy Faree.
Staff turnover is a challenge. It is directly impacting our students. Just this year at the high school, we have lost amazing teachers, including 2 math teachers. We have lost both of our counselors over a number of years. We have lost our high school principal has resigned. We have had a number of teachers resign at the elementary school. So no doubt staffing is a challenge. Think a few things. We have to make sure we can have competitive salaries with our front range teachers. We have to have high performing schools to continue to attract strong teachers. And we need to help support workforce housing projects in the town of Estes Park. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Robin, we're ready to move to the next question.
Okay, this is our next question, and this is the last question. What will you do to make sure that all district stakeholders' views are heard by the board?
And first up for this. All right, first up for this question is Ava Kendall. Try again, Ava.
She's on, good.
There you are.
Repeat the question, please. I was concerned about the mute.
What will you do to make sure that all district stakeholders' views are heard by the board?
The first thing I'd like to do is I'm a people person. And if we could take measures to safely have board meetings in person, I would love that. I think that having in-person opportunities and having people be able to come in and express themselves would be a very positive thing for us. I am a listener. I have been out in the community meeting with numerous people. I've loved meeting with people, hearing those people, their ideas, their concerns, being sure that our communication is very open, that I'm available. I mean, I'm here. I am fully vested in becoming a school board member and being available to listen to anyone and their concerns so that we can share those with other school board members and make decisions that'll best affect our school.
Ava, thank you. Danielle Wolf.
Yeah, I actually feel like the Zoom format has been a huge boon to participation for our school board. We have more people attending the Zoom meetings, more people asking to participate via the Zoom meetings than we ever did when our meetings were in person. So this format has really expanded access to a lot of our families who maybe couldn't find childcare to attend a Zoom meeting or to attend an in-person meeting, or who were working and didn't have a convenient way to get there. Another way to expand how much input we're getting from the community, when conditions allow, we would like to do another round of the neighborhood learning conversations, which some of you may have remember from a few years back. those were really how we gathered input to figure out what our global outcomes were. Those were attended by more than 300 community members from a really diverse background and was a great way for us to hear concerns from all of them. So I think getting those up and going again, once conditions allow, and then continuing to just be a listening ear in the supermarket, on the playground, at the soccer games, to whoever's got a concern, making sure they know I'm here and I'm ready to listen.
Thanks, Danielle. Courtney Cabrera, to you.
Thank you so much. So all of us have talked a lot about recognizing that students learn in different ways. And I think that's also really important to recognize when it comes to how people engage with the board and the ways in which they want to engage. And so what I love about all of the options that we've now been exploring is that people are far more proficient in Zoom. And so if Zoom is the mechanism for which people can engage because they can do it from their home or because they can do it from work, then that works for them. But we also have that value around, as many have mentioned, going out into the community and listening and hearing. And so for those families and people that are wanting to be a part of in-person meetings, honoring that value and offering that as well. I think we also need to make sure that we're keeping abreast of what's happening in our community, either through surveys or through communication via whether that's newsletters or snail mail, as we like to call it. So how can we continue to engage with our community? I also think it's really important for us to recognize that our students need to have a continued voice in what's happening within their education. So how do we factor in student voice? We have three amazing student representatives for our board right now. I think that's a really unique aspect of our board that needs to continue to bring in student voice. And finally, I think we have other communities that don't live within the boundary of Estes Park that also need to continue to be represented in their needs and desires. We need to recognize that those may or may not look different than what's happening here in Estes Park.
Thanks, Courtney. Stacy Faree, to you.
I think communication is the key component to developing strong relationships with all the stakeholders. I believe it's important to have an open dialogue. It allows for transparency. I would do what I'm doing today, getting out, meeting with people, talking to stakeholders, listening, and not be dismissive of their input. As far as the Zoom meetings go, a concern I have is during our current board members, we either sign up in advance as a parent or a community member to speak. And at the beginning of the meeting, they allow for this individuals to speak. There was no response during this time from the board members. Secondly, I think we do have student representatives. They were just introduced at a recent board meeting, but that representation missing is a member from our English language learner community. So I would like to see, as a board member, an additional representative from our student body from our English language learner community. Thank you. Thanks,
Stacy. And Peggy Maherman, you're the last candidate to take on this question.
Great, thank you, John. Yeah, communication is so important, and it's a two-way street, right? It's listening, and then it's projecting, the message you want to get out. And there's many stakeholders, even in our small community, in our small district. We have many stakeholders that we need to listen to. And I think that part of listening is understanding that not everybody's going to agree, that there are differing opinions. So it's doing that with respect and understanding, but still making the hard choices if needed. One of the things in my professional career that I've kind of pride myself on is I'm not, afraid of dealing with the hard issues and getting out in front of those. I think it's always better to have a communication plan on anything that's going on, and it needs to be multifaceted, as we've talked about, between social media, in-person, Zoom meetings, all the different ways, but it's about thinking very strategically on how to communicate and how to get all that feedback in. When I first heard, I think it was Danielle mentioned the neighborhood learning communities, and or neighborhood learning conversations, when I first heard of that several months ago, I was like, I'm all over that. If I am elected, that is something I would be very interested in, because our communities, our greater community cares about our school, no matter if they have a direct relationship or not. So I'm big on communication, and it would be a big part of who I am as a board member.
Peggy, thank you. Robin, I think you said we are at the end of the question period and perhaps ready for final statements.
Okay, I just want to say that each candidate will have a minute to give a closing statement, and it can be addressing something that didn't get brought up. It can be elaborating on an answer that you gave or whatever else you may have prepared. So we will start with that. Your name will be called, reversing the order used for the opening statements, and John has that traffic.
And we will begin with Ava Kendall.
Okay, am I on?
You are.
Okay. I want to first thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. And I want to thank each person that has attended and been a part of the forum this evening. Education is essential for the future of our children. Voting is a privilege that we have, and being an informed voter is important. We need school board members to provide essential leadership and direction to administrators, teachers, and support staff. A healthy partnership between all stakeholders can make a district soar, and I want to be part of a team that helps our district soar.
Ava, thank you. Peggy Maherman, it's to you.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity to join this forum. As you have all heard, there's no limit to the number of topics and issues that a school board director will need to be prepared to deal with. However, at the very highest level, it is important to remember that in addition to the hiring of a superintendent and ensuring good fiscal government, the most important responsibility of a school board is to set the high-level direction and culture of a school district. For Estes Park School District, the decision is now about the culture and mindset of our schools going forward, moving our schools in a positive direction, knowing that the best is yet to come and striving every day for a better tomorrow. And most importantly, don't forget to vote. You should all be receiving your ballots your mail-in ballots early next week. Please get those in just as soon as possible and tell everyone you know to make sure to vote in this very important election. Thank you.
Peggy, thanks. We turn now to Stacey Faree.
I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. It's apparent there are challenges this district faces, but working together, we can find the answers. I'm committed to doing research, doing my homework, and asking the tough questions. These past few weeks, I've spent my time talking with community members, school district employees, a board member, students, listening to and learning about their concerns. The one conclusion that I've come to is we can and we should do better because education matters and our students matter. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacey. Courtney Cabrera.
Thank you. So I'm honored to have had this opportunity to listen and learn from the questions posed by our community. These community questions elevate that there's much work to be done as a school board in the coming months and years. I believe deeply that this work must include all of our buildings having high quality evidence-based curricula in place aligned to our state standards, global outcomes that outline skills like collaboration and critical thinking, innovative and relevant learning opportunities such as our CTE programs, social emotional learning supports that educate the whole child, providing our educators with authentic, relevant professional learning to increase their retention, building partnerships with our community through clear and collaborative communication. We must recognize that every student's educational path forward is not the same, and it is our role as a board to support every student in reaching the high expectations we set out. This is the work I believe I'm uniquely qualified to support. This is the work our students and our community need. And with your help, this is the work I'd be honored to continue to do as a board director. Thank you.
Courtney, thanks. And our final comments from candidates this evening will come from Danielle Wolf.
Thank you for your attention this evening, and thank you again to the Estes Valley League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. I am a committed and highly qualified board member who will continue to put the needs of our students first. I will continue to make decisions based on the best available information and an eye toward building consensus and moving forward together. I believe we are doing the right work to improve our schools and ensure an excellent educational experience for every student every day. We are implementing high-quality curricula with built-in teacher supports, providing exceptional professional development for our staff, and working to expand our community partnerships. We have laid the groundwork for excellence. Now it's time to work hard to help every student meet high academic standards. I want to keep investing in our exceptional staff. I want to provide the support needed to improve instructions, and I want to build stronger relationships with the community. I can help every Estes Park student thrive, and when our students thrive, the entire Estes Valley thrives. Thank you.
Danielle, thank you. Robin, we're back to you.
Okay, let's put the slide up with the candidates' names. And before I thank them, I just want to remind our audience that there are a few more slides following this. Once again, candidates, thank you for running for the Estes Park School District Board of Education and for informing our voters with your answers and statements. And we wish all of you the best. The League has publicized voting information in the local newspapers and on social media. Highlights are shown on the slide. The best way to obtain comprehensive information is from vote411.org/Colorado and from the Colorado Secretary of State's website. To vote in the school district board election, you must live in the Estes Park Valley, including all or parts of Allens Park, Drake, Glen Haven, Pinewood Springs, and Storm Mountain. Ballots will arrive during the week of October 11th. Be sure to sign your ballot. And you can mail your ballot. Make sure it will arrive in the Larimer County Election Office by Election Day, November 2nd, or use our ballot drop boxes around town, or bring it to the polling center at the community center in Estes Park. We thank you all for being active participants in our democracy and for voting. Have a good night.